During the same period of April and May of 2002, police visited South Africa to try to gather information on Muti killings and met with several prominent people, including Nelson Mandela, who they were very excited to have managed to secure to give a speech in the form of a public address to call for any information regarding the boy's identity. Whilst Mandela's appeal eventually offered no new leads, it did spark a high international profile for the case. They also visited a Sangoma who promptly ruled out Muti, instead agreeing more readily with the sacrifice theory. The Sangoma told them that the blood would have been used to bathe in or drink, probably from the head of the victim, and she also made suggestions to the police that the colour of the shorts and the river would have played a significant role in the sacrifice. After they returned to London, the police refocused on black communities within London itself. However, without knowing an exact ethnic background for Adam, they were hopelessly swinging in the dark. In June 2002, the police had tracked down more information regarding the lurid orange-red shorts. They found that they were one of only 820 pairs sold in the German store chain of Woolworths, suggesting that at some point Adam had spent a period of his journey from Africa to the UK in Germany. The second discovery, made in June, happened almost by chance, but was entirely more significant and would lead to the first arrest of the case 10 months after the discovery of the body. Initially, the police were contacted by a member of social services in Scotland. They had been working on a case with a Nigerian woman named Joyce Osagide, who had been involved in several minor breaches of the peace, and the social services had been tasked with retrieving the care of two children, aged 4 and 6, named Jacqueline and Precious. Whilst this may all seem irrelevant, it was Joyce's unusual argument for her need to take back care of the children that sparked interest. She had told social services that she needed the two girls back for use in a ritual ceremony. This prompted the social services unit in Scotland to contact police working on the Adam case in London, who promptly responded. When they visited Joyce's apartment in Glasgow, they found clothing with the same German label from the kids' company as the orange-red shorts, giving them enough reason to arrest her, and arrested her quickly on suspicion of murder for further questioning. During her interviews with the police, Joyce told them of how she had lived in Germany with her husband until November of 2001, 1 month prior to Adam's murder, when she had fled to London with the two girls, as she was afraid for their well-being. Her husband, she said, was the head of a cult named the Black Coat Eyes of the Devil Guru Maharaj, who had been involved in the past with human sacrifice, specifically children, including her own firstborn son in 1995. She told the police of how her husband had been personally responsible for the sacrifice of 10 children in 1995 alone. His name, she said, was Onajagovi, but when asked to repeat the name, she simply wrote Tony Onus, and then denied that she had mentioned the first name entirely. The police remarked that throughout the time she was questioned, she had appeared very scared. She denied any involvement with Adam and that she had ever taken care of any young boys whilst in Germany. Forensic took swabs from her mouth to test for DNA, but found that she was not related to Adam in any way, and after 48 hours and with nothing solid to make any charges, were forced to release her. By December of 2002, she was deported back to Africa, much to the frustration of many members of the investigation. Whilst disappointment loomed over the investigation regarding their inability to pin any solid charge onto Joyce, they now had several new leads, including looking into the cult of her now ex-husband, the strangely named Black Coat Eyes of the Devil Guru Maharaj. The Divine Light Mission was a mystical religion founded by an Indian guru in the heat of the Western swing towards alternative lifestyles and Eastern religions of the 1960s and 70s. In 1966, the guru died, however, and the movement was left to his son, Maharaj Ji, then only 9 years of age. In the 1970s, Maharaj Ji sensed an opportunity for growth within the international community and took the religion on a world tour. However, it was an abject failure in financial terms, and it came very close to bankrupting the group. By 1975, Maharaj Ji had moved away from his father's founding doctrines, and with this shift in belief, he changed the name to Elan Vital in North America. By the time of Adam's death in 2001, Elan Vital had around 75,000 members, and the Divine Light mission worldwide stood around 250,000 strong. One offshoot group in Nigeria used this name, perhaps to piggyback from the renown of the Divine Light mission, but provided their own homegrown slant of voodoo and black magic as a doctrine. Headed by self-professed guru Muhammad Sahib, who had himself stumbled across the teachings of the Maharaj Ji during his studies in London in 1975, he returned to Africa in 1980 and formed the breakaway sect. Sahib took on the name of Black Jesus and the Perfect Living Master, and quickly became known amongst rumours that surrounded his sect for accusations of torture and missing persons. To avoid any associations with Sahib, the original Divine Light mission removed themselves from practicing in Africa, and afterwards, throughout the following years, Sahib's group rose in stature, despite their Perfect Living Master being jailed in 1999 for murder, although he was later acquitted. From their founding, the cult group had moved through many iterations, including the One Love family, and by 2001 were known as the Black Coat Eyes of the Devil Guru Maharaj. They owned 29 cult compounds throughout Nigeria, including at least one in every major city. Their sacred colour was a bright shade of orange-red. After the excitement and eventual disappointment with the arrest of Joyce Osagide, the rest of the summer of 2002 passed by without much movement within the investigation. September laid down the one-year marker for the case, and police involved with the investigation held a memorial service on the Thames, close to where Adam's body was retrieved. In the same month, another appeal for information was released and included a reward of £50,000 for information that led to an arrest. During the questioning of Joyce, police had been supplied with two addresses that she had claimed to live in London during her time in England, one in Lewisham in the south of London and one in the East End. The eastern address gave no information, and the current lodger claimed no knowledge of Joyce. The southern Lewisham flat, however, was somewhat more fruitful, and police found bones buried in the back garden, along with a machete and a videotape of her wedding to a man named Samuel Onajigovi, dated 1997. On the tape was a very traditional ceremony indeed. As the pair were wed, a goat was sacrificed and its blood splashed across their altar. As it turned out, Joyce's ex-husband was a well-known man in Germany, known as Ibrahim Kadade, and was wanted for trafficking illegal immigrants. The police made one other raid in those cold winter months of 2002. In December, from information discovered whilst digging into Joyce's London residences, police tracked down her landlord, a man named Kingsley Ojo. As the police busted into the flat, Ojo found his way out of a rear window. Whilst missing the man himself, this did allow police to thoroughly trawl through his apartment, and amongst several strange artefacts, found a videotape tagged Rituals that graphically depicted a man having his head brutally removed and held aloft in sacrifice to a Yoruban deity in an attempt to call for help speeding the recovery of an elder for a serious illness. They also found pouches of an unknown powder. The police made to track Ojo and found little trouble in finding him. In fact, it was noted that Ojo seemed not to be overly concerned by the raid and continued his daily life almost as if it had not happened at all. During his arrest, he claimed to know nothing of Adam, nor of Joyce, despite the fact that her contact details were found in his phone. Throughout autumn, two important laboratory results were finally supplied to the investigation. Firstly was an analysis of the organic and plant matter found in Adam's lower intestine. Initially thought to be completely destroyed and unusable, further analysis had been requested by Richard Hoskins, who supplied possible matches for the material based from a short list of ingredients he believed would have been used in creating a medicine fed to a sacrifice victim that would reflect the favourite ingredients of a specific orishar. The mixture was found to contain gold, quartz, clay, bone material and calabar beans. This was significant on several levels. Firstly, it confirmed to Hoskins that Adam was the victim of sacrifice. The mixture would have been ground up and then burnt. The charcoaled remains fed to him in the days prior to the sacrifice as a method of making the gory ritual more worthy to a deity, and was a common practice in African sacrificial voodoo practices. Furthermore, it allowed police to cross-reference the material with compounds found from samples taken across several regions of the Yoruba Plateau in Western Africa, allowing them to track down to a very specific region in Africa that the cult may have been operating from. Thirdly, the usage of the calabar bean, which was a highly poisonous substance, was known to have paralysing properties when used in low dosages. This laid out a clearer timeline of Adam's murder, which was slowly unravelling to present a very dark and disturbing picture. Not unimportantly, the mixture itself also showed a remarkable resemblance in makeup to the packets of powder found in Kingsley Ojo's apartment. The second forensic discovery was that of the results of an experimental process that had been run on Adam's bone matter known as geographical profiling. This forensic profiling analysed bone structure affected by diet and environment to ascertain the periods of time a person had spent living in certain locations, which themselves left a signature with very specific results. The results of Adam's geographical profiling showed that Adam's diet changed dramatically 4 weeks prior to his death, suggesting he had been in England for around a month before his murder, and that he had indeed grown up in the Yoruban region of West Africa, specifically in the city of Benin. This also happened to be the exact same city that all three, Joyce Osagide, her husband Samuel Onajigovi, and Kingsley Ojo were from, along with the analysis of the powder, which also turned out to correlate with samples from Benin. Whilst the pieces of the investigation were still hopelessly fractured and left holes at every possible turn, at least the few scraps the investigation possessed were beginning to fit together, or so the police felt as the year closed on 2002. In January of 2003, Scotland Yard launched Operation Maxim. Kingsley Ojo was followed and bugged. Joyce's ex-husband, Samuel Onajigovi, was found and arrested in Ireland, along with 21 other arrests across the city of London. The arrests eventually included Ojo himself, who had been followed to a child brothel in Italy. Joyce was tracked down in Nigeria and rearrested, though once again nothing solid could be gleaned from her questioning. She maintained to have no knowledge of Adam, though made a statement confirming her involvement with the Black Coat Eyes of the Devil Guru Maharaj from 1994 until 2002, when she had left due to the cult being involved in too much evil. She told police that the cult was deeply involved in voodoo and black magic. She also told of how the group had members in both the UK and Germany, and that she had played an organisational role in the EU sect. Her ex-husband, Samuel, was the guru, and she confirmed that he had been involved with murdering children in the past. When asked specifically about Adam, she merely stated, "I do not know anything about the murder of the child in London." However, she then immediately contradicted herself by going on to state that the child was killed in Lewisham. "I don't know where the head and limbs are. I think the boy was sacrificed because his parents had been brainwashed by Maharajji's teachings." She admitted to buying a pair of orange-red shorts during her time living in Germany, though could not confirm where they were anymore, and claimed to have known nothing about the identical shorts found on Adam's body. Once again, nothing solid could be tied to Joyce, and she was released from custody with no charges. Her ex-husband, Samuel Onajigovi, was questioned extensively. He was remarried in Ireland and claimed to have no knowledge of any cults nor of Kingsley Ojo, though his details were found in a diary belonging to him. Remarkably, he also claimed to have no clue who Joyce was either. Of the 21 other arrests, most were thought to be minor players in a child trafficking ring headed by Kingsley Ojo. Amongst evidence found during the raids were hundreds of voodoo artifacts, including a large rodent skull pierced clean through by a nail. Ojo was eventually sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, followed by deportation. Whilst Operation Maxim split up a child trafficking ring and laid waste to the hierarchy on every level, it brought police no closer to identifying nor understanding the death of Adam, and so it continued for many quiet years. In August of 2005, police buried Adam's torso in an unmarked grave in Southwark Cemetery, 1 mile from where his body was found floating in the Thames. This time, there was no media circus, no press release and no fanfare. It was a quiet occasion attended only by a few prominent members of the investigation. After the successes of Operation Maxim, the investigation had finally been left with no positive leads, and over the following years the case grew colder with every passing month. In 2007, Kingsley Ojo was granted early release, and in return made a deal to work undercover for the police. He led them along several dark alleys and dead ends before promptly slipping away back to Africa. In 2011, Ronke Phillips, a journalist working for ITV, a British television station, tracked down Joyce Osagide. She was suffering from severe mental health troubles and had recently recovered from a complete mental breakdown. During an interview, she told Phillips that she had in fact looked after Adam in Germany whilst she lived there. A photo had been uncovered that depicted Joyce alongside her 2 daughters and a young boy, which she confirmed to be Adam. She claimed the time she spent taking care of Adam was as a favour to a friend, and that she had passed him on to a man named Bauer. When Joyce came to England 1 month later, she was told that Adam was dead. She also confirmed his identity, naming him as 6-year-old Ikpomwosa. Finally, 10 years after his death, Adam's identity was confirmed. Or was it? Police were not sure to believe everything that Phillips discovered. Joyce's mental health was a severe problem, and she was on a strong and muddled mix of medication at the time of the interview. 1 year later, in 2012, the BBC also approached Joyce for interview. She confirmed her earlier story, though this time named Bauer specifically as Kingsley Ojo. Curiously, on this occasion, she named Adam as one Patrick Harbour, and went on to explain that her previous identification of Ikpomwosa was a misunderstanding. The photo, in fact, was of her friend's son Danny, who the BBC tracked down promptly and confirmed with the young man himself that he was the boy in the photo. And there the story of Adam, or Ikpomwosa, or rather Patrick Harbour, or perhaps neither, falls deathly silent. Through the investigation's intense efforts, a child trafficking ring had been destroyed, along with the potential of shaking a dark cult involved with child sacrifice to its core. However, much is left unknown, unanswered, and many appear to have gotten away with one of England's darkest recent crimes. Will O'Reilly, head of the investigation, said later that, "In West Africa, there are several reasons for human sacrifices: for power, money, or to protect a criminal enterprise. We believe the prime motive for the murder was to bring good fortune. We suspect Adam was killed to bring traffickers luck." Whilst the sacrifice hardly brought any luck to the ring, it did not overly harm those at the top either, and it's highly likely that whilst questions remain over Adam, the dark practices of the black coat eyes of the devil guru Maharaj continue.